like to get started by taking a few deep breaths. Let's take
Make sure this is off.
three deep breaths. And going down into our spiritual center, let's take a deep in-breath and make the sound of Om together. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A divine appointment has brought us together today. Just the right ones of us. And here we are to share a message called The Nature of God and Why Worship. From the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of the Lord. The text we're using is called The Living Gita by Sri Swami Satchidananda. We'll read his translation of the Gita and his commentary. We're going to begin right away with a sloka. A sloka is a Sanskrit word for verse. It means verse or chapter. Since we've been studying the Bhagavad Gita for quite a while, by the way, I'm recording this in a video, so you're welcome to review it at another time if you wish. Or you can take notes, whatever is best for your learning experience. Just go for it. So the slokas are chapters. We've been studying this for a while, and at this point, we are into chapter 7. We've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in chapter 7. Chapter 7 is going rather deep. It assumes we've gone through a body of study. I find that all of these chapters, though, have something to tell us about where we are right now, no matter what we've studied before. So let's look to see what's in chapter 7, starting with sloka number 24. Here we go. Because their understanding is still shallow, many still believe that I. Now, before we go on, you need to know who I is. Yeah. Otherwise, you might get a little confused. To make the story interesting, the Bhagavad Gita is set thousands of years ago, of course, when it was written, on a battlefield before the days of rifles and artillery, when wars were fought with bows and arrows and swords and so on. The story begins with a feud between two parts of the same family, just like we're experiencing in the U.S. today. Our American family is having a family feud, which is not uncommon. The head of the good guys, there's the bad guys and the good guys in this story. The head of the good guys is Prince Arjuna. Prince Arjuna. And in those days they fought in chariots. And the chariots have horses, two-wheeled chariots go about. And Prince Arjuna, at the beginning of the battle, the horns are blowing, the drums are beating, there's a huge commotion. The two armies are facing each other. We wouldn't do that these days. The artillery would blow each other up. But in those days, that was the pattern. They faced each other. And Arjuna told his charioteer, take me in between the lines of battle, to that no man's land. I want to survey the situation. Now, interestingly enough, who do you think his charioteer happened to be? I'm going to tell you. An incarnation of the deity, or God. An incarnation of God. India has many different incarnations of God. This particular one was called Krishna. Krishna. You've perhaps heard of the Hare Krishnas here in this country. Hail to the Lord. Hail to Krishna, Hare Krishna. And there's Krishna, who was an incarnation of the deity as the charioteer. Krishna drove Arjuna to the center of the battle. Arjuna surveyed everything and said, oh my God, there's my family over here, my family over there. There's my teachers on the other side. And here's my cousins on this side. And he said, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I can't fight and kill my own family. I can't do that. And if I were victorious, there would be no victory in it for me, because I would have killed my own family. So he has a powerful bow called the Gandiva, I believe it's called. And by the way, the Bhagavad Gita is part of a huge epic, much longer than many of our Western epics. What's the name of it? I'll think of it in a moment. Huge epic. So, right. Anyway, in this story, Bhagavad Gita, he throws down his bow and arrow, and he turns to his charioteer, and he gets down on his knees and says, what shall I do? I don't know what to do. I'm a warrior. It would be wrong if I didn't fight, but yet I can't kill my own people. I don't know what to do. He said, please guide me. Krishna. So Krishna says, okay, I'll give you some guidance. So we have the Bhagavad Gita, which is the guidance. Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna, the great warrior. Who is Arjuna, the great warrior? Well, you are.
Yes.
Who is Lord Krishna? That voice that comes
Our
up
inner being.
in our innermost being. That's Lord Krishna. So the I speaking here is Lord Krishna.
Okay.
Who is also that innermost spark of divinity that each of us carries within ourselves. That's the I. The I is the Lord speaking, giving us advice. This advice was solicited, by the way, not like the advice that we sometimes offer unsolicited. No, this was solicited from God. We can do the same thing. When we get in a fix, don't know what's right or wrong to do, and we're ready to lay our bow down and say, I don't know what to do, we can say, Lord Krishna, please guide me, and have the patience to wait until the guidance shows up for us. That's the trick. Because our minds, are very active. Our minds will try to guide us. But of course, the mind was trying to guide us, and that's how we got in the pickle. It didn't work out.
Right.
So we have to have the quality of patience to wait for Lord Krishna or the Christ consciousness within us to show us the way. So that's the I here, speaking. So here's the I speaking because their understanding is still shallow. Many still believe that I, the unmanifested one, am limited to one particular manifestation. You see the conundrum here? He says, I am unmanifested. I'm not a person. I'm not a thing. You can't see me. I wasn't born. I don't die. I was here before. I am hereafter. I am here outside of time. I am unmanifested. And yet, he is manifested. He is manifested. So there's a conundrum that our minds can't easily deal with, but our heart is okay with it. And these verses are addressed to our heart and not our intellect. Addressed to our heart. Many still believe that I, the unmanifested one, am limited to one particular manifestation. They have not yet seen my true nature, which is unchanging and supreme. Unchanging and supreme. As human beings, we have difficulty visualizing the unmanifested. So it turns out that in the kindness of the Holy Spirit, we have incarnations of God to guide us, or images that guide us. These images are not the final place on our spiritual journey. Rather, they are more like ladders we need to climb to get to a place where we are more comfortable with something being unmanifested. And after I always visualize a plateau in New Mexico with a mesa. We're climbing that ladder up the mesa. And once we get on the plateau, we don't need the ladder anymore.
That's true.
There. So the incarnations are a ladder. The Buddhists have another way of pointing it, another metaphor describing it. They say these verses and our need for representatives of the holy are like a finger pointing to the moon. Finger point. Don't confuse the finger with the moon. Another metaphor. So here the Holy Spirit, Krishna is saying, I'm not limited to one particular manifestation. They have not seen my true nature, which is unchanging and supreme. Let's see what Satchidananda has to say about this. He's an interesting commentary.
Oh, okay.
Now please come forth with any observations you have, whatever comes up for you, or observations or questions. No matter what you call it or in what form you approach it, if you see it as infinite and supreme, then that's all you need. No matter what you call it, the divine, or in what form you approach it, you see it as infinite and supreme, then that's all you need. It is the Supreme God. You see how inclusive this message is? I was just reading, I've been reading an essay by a Buddhist man called There Is No Religion. There is no religion. There is no religion. The same message that we're hearing here, a step above. Here's a man who's climbed the ladder and sees that all the ladders leaning against the plateau are unnecessary. Once you're on the plateau, there is no religion. Religions, unfortunately, although they have succored us and helped us, have also been the occasion of differences and the experience, the illusion of separation. I'm from Unity, you're from the Catholics. He's a Baptist, he's a Jew. They're Muslims, they're Buddhists. When we use words like that, we feel separate. We feel we're separate here and they're separate there. On the plateau, there is no separation. There is no religion. There is only nature. There's nature. So here Satchidananda is going to give us some guidance to help move in that direction. That's all you need. It is the Supreme God. Don't worry about the name. The minute you limit even the Supreme God with one name, it's a limited God then. This is pretty tough because I just went to a unity service and I heard a lot of talk about God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge. How do we talk about God without using a name? Or Allah, or Yahweh, Elohim. With one name, it's a limited God then. An infinite supreme God should be able to take any name given. Well, maybe that's the path. We allow all the names. If the Supreme One says, you shouldn't call me Shiva, I'm only Krishna. If the quote-unquote Supreme One says, you shouldn't call me Shiva, I'm only Krishna, how can you call that God? Infinite. No. So we rely on these visualizations to help us. In the origin of the Christian tradition, which comes from the Judaic tradition, I believe one of the commandments is, thou shalt have no images before me. Isn't that right? Thou shalt have no images before me. Why? Because images could be a source of divisiveness. And yet we depend on images to help us along. So many Christian churches are loaded with images. And if you take the grand tour of Europe, as I've done more than once, you see these beautiful paintings, sculptures in the great cathedrals of Europe, works of art, truly magnificent. Michelangelo's Pietà in the Vatican, so on. So let's see what's going on there. We're attracted to all these, and somehow they seem helpful, and yet if we get over-attached to them, it can be a source of division. So maybe that's where the secret lies, our attachment to the images or the incarnation.
And not only the image, but the actual physical manifestation of an image. So people can get all excited about a statue,
Right.
a cross, or whatever. But for me, I feel like that it's an awareness that I can't really name. We speak, so therefore we name, because it's what we do, but you really can't put a box around the awareness.
And in the talk last week, when I talked about the Tao Te Ching, the very first words in the Tao Te Ching are, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name.
The Course in Miracles does the same thing, but as soon as you language it, you're gone. Right. It's over, because as soon as you language it.
And here we are languaging it.
Yeah.
Here we are. So, how can you call that God? Infinite? More language. Anything that's infinite means all-embracing. Even that is me. Even this is me. Krishna is me. Buddha is me. Jesus is me. Shiva is me. Moses is me. Allah is me. Muhammad is me. I am everything. I am everything. I am everything. I like to do a little saying every morning as part of my grace before breakfast. I'll share it with you. Sam, you've heard it before. It has to do with things. Things. Here we're hearing, I am everything. So here's the little saying I use in the morning. I'll repeat it once, then you could repeat it after me if you wish. Here we go. Goes like this. I give thanks for everything.
I give thanks for everything.
I have no complaint whatsoever.
I have no complaints whatsoever.
Now let's do it again, and let whatever thing is in your consciousness or things rise up for you so that you can see those things or things. I give thanks for everything.
I give thanks for everything.
I have no complaints whatsoever.
I have no complaints whatsoever.
Amen. How about that? No complaints? Surely we have one or two.
But in that moment when you're saying it, it does free the ongoing thoughts and mind chatter in that moment. You know, there's a lightness of it, yeah.
Yeah, when you give thanks for everything, I don't know you, but for me, some or one of the things that come up is some of the things that I'm not happy about at that particular moment in my life. Some of the things I've noticed that are in my awareness that I wish were not like they are. I wish were different or wish weren't there. They bother me. So if we can give thanks even for that thing and rise above it and have no complaints, no complaint whatsoever.
Well, and actually to be thankful.
Yeah. Right.
Because again, one of the things I love about the Course in Miracles is my brother is my savior. And Abraham says the same thing. All of them do. So that which causes me to see inside myself and see where I'm not connected is a gift.
Yes.
That thing that I wish wasn't the way it is because it makes me have to look inside myself and see where I'm hanging on to separateness. So,
yeah.
Ideally, we're thankful for that.
Right. So when you give thanks for everything, it includes all your brothers who have been sent to you as gifts.
It's gifts.
Allah is me, Muhammad is me, I am everything. I am God, I am dog, I am caterpillar, I am cockroach. See those cockroaches? I am cockroach.
Snake.
Snakes, love snakes. We used to play with snakes when we were kids. They were harmless little garden snakes. The boys would. We'd give them a wrap around the snakes around their necks and go scare the girls.
Shame on you.
It was fun. It wasn't fun for the girls.
No.
That was part of the fun for the little boys. I am cockroach. You probably know, if you think about it, that in ancient Egypt, the scarab was an object of worship. The scarab is a beetle.
Oh yeah, that image, I've seen it.
The scarab beetle, I worshipped that beetle. Why limit our divine gifts, because of desires or aversions that are in our minds. They're not in our hearts. No, they're in our minds. Aversions are in our minds. So sometimes our mind can prevent us from seeing what's in our heart. I am cockroach. Everything is me. Yes, if your mind really thinks the cockroach is the oldest and the infinite form of God, if you worship God in the form of the cockroach, you'll get the same benefit. It's not the form. It's not the form. You get the same benefit as the ones who worship G-O-D. In the name of Krishna. So cockroach or Krishna, it's what's in your heart. The reason this is freeing is it allows us to lose some of the disrespect we've learned, perhaps, from our associates, our childhood, our family, our social media, the disrespect we've learned for others. Particularly others who are cast as enemy images before us, and who we hear described as enemies by labels. In times of war, the government and the military chooses to use labels to effectively train the military to fight. How can normal people who haven't been trained as warriors, which in modern democracies, everyday people become warriors. We're born into a warrior class here in this country. Well, I don't know, maybe all your family were warriors, but in general we're not. No, we go and get trained. How do we get trained? We learn, first of all, to be obedient in the military, follow orders. That's number one. Follow orders, whatever else. And the second is to accept that there is an enemy. There isn't, it will tell you who the enemy is. And that enemy doesn't deserve the same feelings that we deserve. They don't deserve respect. It's okay to kill them. It's even okay to murder their families. It's okay, because they are the enemy. In some ways, they are not really human. Are not really human. And when we hear that message and we read in the newspaper, oh my God, an American soldier was killed in Afghanistan. We get upset about that and feel compassion for that American soldier. By the way, the explosion that killed him also killed 32 children and 3 teachers and some visiting families, but somehow in our consciousness they don't count for as much. They don't count for as much. I remember during the Vietnam War, when the soldiers were sent out there, the propaganda was, we're winning the war. We weren't.
No.
But the propaganda was, we're winning the war. And we have evidence for it, and the evidence is the body count. How many did we kill today? 300. Okay. We killed 300 Viet Cong today. So the soldiers were tasked with delivering a body count. It was a tragic and horrible task for some soldiers to deliver the body count because they had to go killing. It's why soldiers sometimes experience PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. When they come back to their everyday life, they start to realize some of those people that they killed were just people.
Sons and fathers and mothers.
People like us. The same sort of people that I see now that I'm back home. So they suffer. They suffer from having had those experiences. So we can worship anyone as long as we consider that image, individual God. Yet I hope Krishna will forgive me for saying this. This is Satchidananda talking. But it's not the question of the form of the cockroach or of Krishna. Behind the name, it's what you feel, which is just what I heard you share. What you are seeking. If you feel that unnameable manifestation and actually resist the temptation to give it a name, go with the feeling. That's what Satchidananda says is the plateau we're all heading towards. You're looking for something so vast, infinite, simply because your mind is limited. Thank you, God, for my beautiful mind. It's limited, but it's what I got. Simply because your mind is limited, you can't even call on the infinite without a name. We can't speak without names and language. So our minds are limited, we can't call on it without a name. So what he recommends, his advice is just give it any name you want, but don't be so attached to it. Have all the names be okay, and have your special name be okay. No better, no worse, but just special for you. That's wonderful. Any name you want. If we know this truth, we will never discourage anybody from using any name or any form to worship that same God. It's getting close to 11 now, so I'd like to close with a little exercise where we will see if we can internalize the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and Sri Swami Satchidananda. You ready? Here we go. Exercise. I think this exercise is best done if we're not so aware of visual things. So I will repeat the exercise audibly, and you can hear it and repeat after me. So to let ourselves go a little deeper, let's allow our eyes gently to close. And here's the exercise. Repeat out loud or silently after me. Oh my God, your name is Allah.
Oh my God, your name is Allah.
Oh my God, your name is Jesus.
Oh my God, your name is Jesus.
Oh my God, your name is Moses.
Oh my God, your name is Moses.
Oh my God, your name is Krishna.
Oh my God, your name is Krishna.
Oh my God, your name is Great Spirit.
Oh my God, your name is Great Spirit.
Oh my God, your name is God.
Oh my God, your name is God.
Om Shanti. It's about time to close now. It's about 5 to 11. I find it useful if we close the same way we began, by taking our consciousness deep, deep into our center, by chanting the sound of Om together. And this time we'll do it 3 times, okay? And it'll really take it down deep. So we'll begin with 3 conscious breaths. And with a deep in breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And go in peace, my friends.
Thank you, Steve.